GM, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Daily Digital Download for Thursday, June 12th. Today's the first day of World Cup. I'm an American, so I have to choose a non-American team to root for after inevitably we lose. So I'm taking offers from different countries for who they would like for me to support, but I don't know. Off the top of my head, I like Netherlands and Argentina, mostly because I have family from those two countries, and I feel particularly attached to them, even though my bloodline is from other families. Anyways, we are continuing into bear market 2026. But this is a good bear market because, well, look, bear markets suck. Let me just share the link real quick. But the reason why I say that, let's see this. Raydium. Legacy AMM exploit. Let's just say that. There's a fantastic vision. There's a fantastic use case, and there are growing verticals that we're going to capture. And the news I talk about today, we'll cover some of that. But let's just jump right into it because I don't have a lot of time today. Joseph Lubin recently gave an interview to The Block, and he basically said that the one way for the roll-up-centric roadmap for Ethereum to be successful is by leaning in to zero-knowledge cryptography, ZK proofs. He also went out on the limb and said that he believes Ethereum could be a fully zero-knowledge proof-based protocol in 3 to 5 years, which not only increases scalability for the L1, but at the same time provides more privacy features. He also says that this will improve composability between L2s and the Ethereum L1. Vitalik Buterin and the Ethereum Foundation doubled down in February, March, whatever it was this year, on their CROPS mandate, which is basically censorship resistance and ensuring that the L1 has the cypherpunk principles that are embedded into it, and that the foundation for Ethereum is dedicated to ensuring that the L1 has these cypherpunk ideals. And as a part of that, Vitalik and the Ethereum Foundation are committing themselves to making Ethereum as fast and cheap as possible to use without sacrificing security or censorship resistance. And so they're calling this, one of the tactics to get there is called Lean Ethereum, which is aiming at hitting over 10,000 TPS, transactions per second, while also keeping the Ethereum mainnet really decentralized. I would argue that there are only 2 projects that are sufficiently decentralized still in 2026, Ethereum and Bitcoin. And so, as like with the police, I don't know how it is in your country or your part of the world, but here in America, it's in vogue to hate the police. But when something bad has happened to you or your family or a crime has happened, the police are the first people you want to see. And this is how I feel about decentralization. Decentralization is a pain. It's difficult. There's a lot of friction. It's hard to get things done. It's hard to get things passed. And when you're in an ecosystem with more centralization, it's nice during the good times because you can get things done. You can get improvement proposals put forth much more quickly because there's a lot less people you need to sign off or a lot less people you need to get to buy in. Nobody values decentralization until you need it. And if you're an American, what this means is you don't care about decentralization until you're not allowed to use a product. If you're outside the US, you care about decentralization, particularly if you're in a developing economy, because that probably means that as a citizen of a developing economy, you're probably locked out from the banking infrastructure. The banks don't want you using their infrastructure. You're part of the 2/3 of the world that's unbanked. It's set up by design. And so, like I was saying, you don't value decentralization until you need it. And so that's what Ethereum is doubling down on. That's why I still think to this day, Bitcoin and Ethereum are the two killer blockchains, period. Now, a lot of people are going to have a lot of different insights and opinions. But hey, when a government comes down on your blockchain and you are not allowed to use it anymore, then you'll value decentralization. And so that's what Lean Ethereum is doubling down on, is ensuring that there's this level of decentralization, but also that Ethereum as an L1 can one day hit 10K TPS and also support privacy and quantum resistance features. The rest of the article goes on to talk about how L2s are still a critical part of the Ethereum vision. I have been highly skeptical and critical of L2s in the past, largely because they've taken developer mindshare away from Ethereum, and they've extracted value from the Ethereum L1 by creating these blockchains with brand new tokens that basically siphon the security from the Ethereum L1 and keep all the economic activity on those chains. So I'm not going to sit here and be an L2 maxi. That being said, Lubin ended this conversation talking about the second foundation, and I love this largely because I'm a huge fan of Isaac Asimov and the Foundation series. There's also an Apple TV show about the Foundation. It's great. But as part of the Foundation series, Harry Seldon sets up this one community in the outskirts of the universe to start building a new society while the prevailing architecture that governs the universe empire is slowly on its decline. And there's a second foundation that's a part of the story of the Foundation series. And so I just love the allusion to the sci-fi reference. Sorry for nerding out for a second. But Lubin says that there is no plans or idea of a second foundation, of another nonprofit that would steward the Ethereum ecosystem to bring up support, to support the EF and its efforts, and possibly even be on the other side of the coin sometimes with the EF, because the EF is very focused, the Ethereum Foundation is very focused on this CROPS mandate, on ensuring privacy and censorship resistance, to the point where having such an ideological stance on the development and growth of your blockchain hinders the ability to go out and onboard new businesses. And so I think Etherealize is a perfect example of this. Etherealize is going out, courting to Wall Street, and they're bringing them onto Ethereum, speaking the Wall Street book, and telling Wall Street why Ethereum as a chain benefits them. We don't need a second foundation. We have spin-off entities going after specific use cases, specific verticals, and trying to onboard them into the ecosystem. So it's nice to hear Lubin saying that there's no thought for a second foundation, a second Ethereum foundation. He said there won't be a second foundation, that there will be at least 3 groups that spin out of the Ethereum Foundation to focus on core protocol work, usability and scalability, and institutional outreach. The EF will focus on the CROPS components. So a good article from Lubin. Honestly, just kind of pitching the same playbook that the Ethereum Foundation has been talking since Tomasz left in February. I still remain to be an Ethereum fan. I was going to cover this at the end of the show, but let's just do this now. Speaking of being an Ethereum fan, Bitmine has bought more ETH. $41 million worth of ETH, continuing their aggressive treasury expansion. Yesterday, Wednesday, June 10th, they bought 41 million, which was about 25,000 ETH. And in the past 3 days, Bitmine has acquired 125,000 ETH, worth $205 million at the current market price. So even though we're sitting on a $10 billion paper loss, they continue to dollar cost average. And I'll say it again, folks, not financial advice. I have been in crypto since 2017. I still need a job to pay for a roof over my head, my clothes, even though I'm wearing a My Ether Wallet shirt that I got from some conference years ago, and food on my table. I still need to work for a living. That being said, dollar cost average, baby. Bitmine is buying into the DCA thesis, and if you believe in an asset as much as they do too, maybe you should be DCAing too into what you believe in. Not financial advice. All right. Let's jump into... God, this is like blockchain and crypto related, but not necessarily 100% so. These next two articles come from credit card behemoths, Mastercard and Visa, and how they're building for the AI play. So Mastercard recently unveiled a new payments infrastructure designed specifically for AI agents, and they have over 30 entities and firms that are on board, including Coinbase, OKX, and Tempo that are joining as early adopters. The new system is called Agent Pay for Machines, AP4M, and that will support super fast, always-on transactions between AI agents and machines, including microtransactions. And this has been my biggest criticism of the credit card companies building for AI solutions and agentic solutions. To use the current credit card networks as it is today, you have to spend, I think it's between 15 and 35 cents for every transaction. Now, for you and me, when we're out buying a cup of coffee, that is just wrapped in to the experience. We don't even notice these transaction fees because to you and me, they're just a part of our day-to-day life. We've been paying these transaction fees for as long as we've been using credit cards to buy goods and services. But when an AI agent is paying for something, they're most likely going to be paying for a single API call, which only costs like 0.0001 cents. Now, if they do a high volume of API calls, that's a different story. That can add up. But if you're using a credit card to pay for 0.001 cents API calls with a minimum of 15 cents transaction fees, this becomes a highly untenable, unsustainable, completely expensive process for agents to use. So the credit card companies, if they don't build for AI agentic solutions, and I totally believe we're moving towards a world where agents are going to be paying our bills and doing the mundane payments for things that we don't want to deal with, then there needs to be a solution. And so that's what AP4M is. Mastercard acknowledges that these legacy payment rails are too expensive for micropayments and are not designed for continuous programmatic use. To get around this, AP4M adds a new layer on top of its global network that works across cards, accounts, and stablecoins. The system will also support AI credentialing so that agents can prove they're authorized, and there will be permissions so that users can set authorization rules and spending limits that are programmatically enforced for these AI agents. These early adopters in the cryptoverse that are working with the AP4M protocol include Aave Labs, Alchemy, Anchorage Digital, BVNK, Coinbase, MoonPay, OKX, Polygon, Ripple, and Solana, among others. They're also working with Web2 giants like Checkout.com and Cloudflare. This is... For the longest time, I thought that blockchain and crypto were going to beat the credit card companies. We're going to beat the international remittance rails. And now I'm seeing, and if I'm guessing what the future is going to hold, they're recognizing that they can't win. And so they're just joining the team. If you can't beat them, join them. And so that's what Mastercard's doing. They're building for blockchain rail settlement And they're building for AI agentic use cases, acknowledging their weaknesses and eradicating those friction points to make it possible for them to still be relevant for the next generation of international payment solutions. And it's not just Mastercard. Visa is also acknowledging that stablecoins are reshaping the way that credit cards are being used in credit card networks, and they themselves are expanding AI and tokenization efforts. Visa acknowledged that stablecoins are a part of the global payment infrastructure and that they're going to be launching or already have launched initiatives that span across settlement, tokenization, and AI. Stablecoins and AI are reshaping different layers on the payments stack. Visa said it's expanding its stablecoin settlement pilots across various regions, blockchains, and currencies. And they're also pushing into tokenization. Visa said it will build the technology layer for tokenized deposits, allowing banks to turn traditional deposits into programmable, always-on digital money while keeping funds on their balance sheets. Both Visa and Mastercard are using programmable money. Wow. This is the killer feature that is ETH and every smart contract blockchain platform out there, is that you can program money. And it's incredible to see that we've won the fight so much that Visa and Mastercard are just saying, yes, this stuff makes sense. Additionally, Visa has introduced Agent Score, which lets merchants evaluate whether AI agents can navigate and complete tasks on their websites. And Visa has launched Agentic Directory, which is a verified registry of agents and merchants that Visa has approved as legitimate participants in agentic commerce. And thirdly, they've unveiled Large Transaction Model, which is an AI model trained on billions of transactions. Look, we are in the thick of a bear market, but you have to look at what is being adopted today to understand where the puck is going. Stablecoins, tokenization, and building for AI transactions. That is the broad theme of 2026. Every single news story I've covered this year, with the exception of the hacks, because that's the other nasty story of 2026. It's security season, and AI is being used to exploit so many different blockchain protocols. This is the other side of the story, where that's the negative side. This is the bullish side. Stablecoins, tokenization, AI agentic payment solutions. And so Mastercard and Visa get it. They see what's going on, and they're not even fighting anymore. They are just building, building, and building. So we'll continue to cover this stuff. I'll continue to cover it in our weekly newsletters at thesmarteconomist.beehive.com. But let's take it down a notch, because I just mentioned security season, which is a key theme of 2026. And we have once again seen another hack. Raydium, one of the premier dexes in the Solana ecosystem, just had a $1.34 million exploit hit their retired AMM program. Don't worry, the Raydium treasury will absorb and cover the losses. Affected users will be fully reimbursed. But, wow. The exploit targets the legacy AMM V3 program, which were a handful of inactive liquidity pools, including the Ray Sol pool, USDC Ray pool, and SRM Ray pairs. The attacker drained around 150,000 Ray tokens, 5,600 Sol, and nearly 900,000 USDC, according to early estimates. Again, all of these losses will be compensated by its treasury, but no protocol is safe in 2026. And if protocols aren't safe, friends, you aren't either. The best way that you can protect yourself is just create more friction between a malicious actor coming after you than the easiest target. It's just like Colorado has a lot of outdoor enthusiasts. And so there's a common joke that we hear from people who go hiking out here in the mountains. You don't need to be the best, in the best shape of the people you go hiking with. You just need to be faster than the person who's in worse shape in case a bear comes. So that way you can outrun that person and the bear will attack them. And that's the same thing that I continue to espouse during 2026 security season. You don't need to have a Fort Knox diamond shielded security strategy. You just need to have proper security hygiene. Make sure that you're rotating your wallets. Make sure you're using private wallets. Make sure you're separating the computers that you do crypto transactions on, using only computers that you only access for transactions like that. Just make it more difficult for yourself to be hacked. Recheck your wallets. Recheck your security assumptions every 6 months, every 4 months. This is how you keep yourself safe, by making sure that you're up to date and you're just ahead of the curve from people who aren't keeping themselves safe. That's the only way we can take individual self-sovereign responsibility over what is happening in security season in 2026 with all these massive hacks and protect ourselves the best that we can. So, unfortunate for Raydium, but also congratulations to the Raydium team. You guys prepared for a Black Swan event and you handled it. There's not much more you can ask of a blockchain project in 2026, more than being able to handle a negative malicious attack like this. And then lastly, our last piece of news comes from Matt Hougan. Again, I love Matt Hougan, just the way he thinks. He's a Wall Street guy, but he's completely tuned into what's going on with crypto. And I honestly think he's one of the best voices that bridges TradFi and Wall Street with crypto and decentralization. He recently spoke with The Block. Was it with The Block? No, I don't know who he spoke with, but he shared his insights into his conversations with financial advisors. And he basically said that after speaking with more than 40 advisors this week, that financial advisors are showing more interest in stablecoins and tokenization than in Bitcoin. He said that there are two key themes that he sees in speaking with these financial advisors. They remain interested in crypto despite the bear market, but their attention is also increasingly shifting beyond Bitcoin. He said their eyes are on stablecoins and tokenization more than Bitcoin. Advisors are showing more curiosity about crypto's real-world applications, such as stablecoins and tokenization, which are being adopted across payments and capital markets. Hougan went on to say, quote, "The reason I think is twofold. On the one hand, the fiat debasement trade has receded from investors' minds generally. He pointed to gold trading around 20% below its all-time high as an example. At the same time, Hougan said that stablecoins and tokenizations have moved to the center of industry discussions, with figures including SEC Chair Paul Atkins, Goldman Sachs CEO David Solomon, BlackRock CEO Larry Fink regularly discussing the themes." And then he said, quote, "Investors want to be a part of that," end quote. So yeah, this is just confirming what I just said. 2026 is about stablecoins, is about tokenization, is about building AI agentic payment solutions. That is where the puck is going. That is where we must skate. That is what you look forward to when you're looking for a forward-looking narrative for your ecosystem, for your bags, for your projects. That being said, Hougan also said that if financial advisors are still interested in crypto despite its market downturn, which he views as an encouraging sign for the industry's next growth phase. If financial advisors become the next major source of crypto inflows, money may first flow into stablecoins and tokenization-linked investments rather than Bitcoin. But he also points out that these crypto-native investments that these advisors might be making could include ecosystems such as Ethereum, Solana, Canton, Chainlink, and Avalanche, all of which came up during his meetings, his 40 meetings with advisors, financial advisors this week. So, look, I can speculate and prognosticate on where I think the industry is going when I see articles such as this from sources such as Matt Hougan. I really feel 100% confident in just doubling down every daily digital download live stream that we do, that the future of this industry right now is stablecoins, tokenization, and AI agentic payment solutions. So, with all that said, we cover these things every single week at thesmarteconomist.beehive.com. Please come check it out. Throw your email in there. Subscribe. I don't spam you guys. I have ideas for several great articles. My goal is that whenever you see an article or something hit your mailbox, you're spending 5 minutes or less reading something that is going to help you get educated on what's going on in blockchain and crypto using a source that is objective, fact-based, and non-sensational. So, folks, with all of that said, thank you so much for tuning in to today's Daily Digital Download. If you're a fan of one of the World Cup teams playing today, good luck to your team. Good luck to everybody who's a fan of a World Cup team. We're about to kick off the month, and I'm looking forward to it. This is going to be a great month of football, or soccer for my Americans. And I'm looking forward to catching you guys next time. Tomorrow we're doing a space on the Smart Economy Podcast Twitter page, so don't forget to check that out. And until the next time, folks, be safe, be happy, and go touch grass. I'll talk with you guys later. Peace.